Hello, and welcome to the Public Health Shift audio edition. I'm Nadia Tekkal. In this space, I read and reflect on each issue of my newsletter, creating a pause for public health professionals to think more deeply about how we work, what we prioritize, and what the current moment is asking of us. This episode is based on issue 24. Who are public health systems accountable to? Today, I want to explore a question that often sits in the background of public health work, but becomes more visible in complex contexts. Who are public health systems actually accountable to when decisions are made? Public health is often framed as being accountable to populations, and in principle, that remains true. But in practice, accountability is rarely that direct. It tends to be shaped by multiple layers. Funding incentives, institutional processes, political priorities, and partner expectations all play a role in influencing what gets prioritized and what moves forward. And when these different forms of accountability come together, they don't always align. While this doesn't lead to a lack of accountability, it leads to something more diffuse. Accountability becomes more visible, but it also becomes harder to trace. You might recognize this in your own work. For example, in a program that begins with clear objectives, but gradually shifts as it moves through funding conditions or reporting requirements. Or in a decision that seemed straightforward to begin with, but became more complex once it entered approval processes. Or when priorities change, not because the underlying need has changed, but because the broader context has. While these shifts are not always intentional, they can reshape how decisions are made and who they are ultimately accountable to. And more often than not, this happens in relatively small everyday moments. It happens in how decisions are framed, in what gets prioritized, or in how success is defined. If you look closely at these moments, you can start to see how accountability is being shaped in practice. The decisions are not only guided by what is needed, but also by what is fundable, what is measurable, what can be approved, and what aligns with current priorities. There can also be a difference between who systems say they are accountable to and what actually influences how decisions are made. And within that, influence is not always evenly distributed. Some actors shape decisions more directly than others. Some expectations are more immediate or more enforceable. Some considerations carry more weight, even if they are not the most visible ones. Over time, these dynamics can create tensions between what is needed and what is feasible, between what is relevant and what is reportable, and between what can move quickly and what requires following a due process. These tensions are part of how systems operate, but they also influence what ultimately gets prioritized. And while public health systems will always operate within political and institutional realities, they should definitely not be defined by them. And maintaining accountability to populations often depends on how these dynamics are navigated in day-to-day practice. So, as you think about your own work, this may be a useful moment to pause and to consider where accountability actually sits in the decisions that you are involved in, who those decisions are effectively accountable to, and whether that aligns with how accountability is being described. You may also start to notice a difference between what is formally stated and what is actually shaping the decisions. Who defines what success looks like? Who has the most influence over what moves forward? And whose perspectives are present but perhaps less decisive? There may also be moments where different forms of accountability begin to pull in different directions, and within those moments, it's important to consider how and whether accountability to populations is brought back into the discussion, not just as an abstract principle, but as something that is actively considered when decisions are made. These are often small shifts in how we look at decisions, but they help surface where accountability is being directed and how it evolves over time. Thank you for listening. If you would like to continue the reflection, you can read the full version of this issue by subscribing to the Public Health Shift newsletter on www.nadiatekkal.com. Until next time, take care and keep questioning how we show up in our work.